Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. Tonight we have 3 stories in total. We'll be starting things off with a very interesting story involving life and death. I don't want to give away too much, but I will say it's one of my favorite stories I've ever narrated. I really enjoyed it, so I hope you enjoy it too. The second story will be especially fun for those of you that use my videos to fall asleep. It's a story about dreams and nightmares, so definitely be looking forward to that. And story 3 is a story about a creepy house at the top of a hill. I think we all know better than to explore the creepy house at the top of the hill, but apparently not. And sometimes it doesn't hurt to have a reminder of why we don't do that. If you do enjoy, please be sure to drop a like rating. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribing if you are new is also very much appreciated, as I am currently trying to reach 125,000 subscribers, and we're getting pretty close. Anyways, sit back, do whatever it is that you do to relax, and as always, I hope you all have a great night. I'm a defense attorney, but this story isn't about my job. It's about the day my client Christina completely butchered her carefully drafted defense by stabbing me in the stomach. As I desperately tried to keep my intestines inside, I wished good luck onto my predecessor. Getting Chris out of this one would be pretty hard, even though, I thought, it wasn't technically sufficient evidence. Just 'cause Christina had stabbed me didn't necessarily mean she had stabbed all those others as well. Then my world got dark. The next thing I remember is my feet feeling soft. Very soft. I was standing on a cloud. Weird. I stared at my hands. They were clean. No guts. The world was bright, and there were people in front of me, and behind me. I was in some kind of line. As it moved forward, I figured out 3 things. 1. I was probably dead. 2. I was in line to get into heaven. 3. While everyone else was wearing some type of nightgown, I was still in my pantsuit. As I got closer and closer to the pearly gates, more and more wrinkles appeared on the face of the angel guarding them. When the girl in front of me stepped up to him, he only took one single look at her, his expression full of disdain. Hell. Wait. The girl shook her head. Wait. I didn't mean to kill them. I frowned. Something about that voice seemed familiar. I'm sorry, she said. I'm sorry, I just get so angry sometimes, but I wanted to be better. I swear, and I took a step forward. Christina? The angel looked up. The disdain on his face turned into annoyance. Oh Lord, why are you here? Your time hasn't come yet. I clicked my tongue. Well, that's unfortunate. But if you'll excuse me, I'd like to talk with my client for a moment. He grumbled something incomprehensible. Christina and I stepped aside. What's going on here? I asked. This doesn't add up. I died before you. Did you push past me in line or something? I tilted my head. Also, why did you stab me? Christina didn't look at me. Sorry, she whispered. I couldn't face you. Sometimes I just see red. She took a deep breath. But now that's okay. Now the police shot me, and I get what I deserve. She raised her voice, preparing herself to step forward. I'm ready. Wait. I pushed her behind me. Wait, stop. She doesn't deserve eternal damnation. Listen, one of the main ideas behind our justice system is rehabilitation. My client clearly regrets what she did, and she wants to do better. Don't you have like a heaven equivalent to prison? Community service? Purgatory? The angel blinked. This is none of your business. It is, literally. I crossed my arms. This woman is my client. The angel closed his eyes. Defense attorney, right. I really hate you guys. Doesn't everyone deserve justice? I asked, just as the Lord gives it to us. You try to be like the Lord? I suddenly remembered that the angel was gonna judge me next. I forced myself to lower my gaze. I just try to be kind, to be fair, to be a good person. He smiled at me. I suppressed a shudder. I hadn't thought that it was possible for an angel to smile so sinisterly. It took all my strength not to jerk back. Do you wish to take on a second job here? The angel asked. Your time hasn't come. You will return back to Earth soon, but if you want, you can visit us at night. You can do what you do best. Defend. What do you think? I trailed off. Honestly, I didn't really have the capacity to take on a night job. Also, I was a lawyer. I had a talent for smelling BS. And by the way the angel spoke, if I said yes, I wasn't gonna get a salary. On the contrary, agreeing was gonna cost me. I didn't know what, but it was gonna cost me. The angel tilted his head. Everyone deserves an attorney, right? I swallowed. Right. Good. He made a little note in his book. Then go ahead. Defend her. But be aware she isn't going to hell for the murders. She has confessed and regretted those. For what then? I asked. Adultery. Christina waved. We were only married on paper by then. Divorce. Would I regret that? Christina said. How could I? I was a danger for him. I loved him enough to let him go. You could have worked on it. I tried. Hell. Excuse me, I said. My client acted in the best interest of her ex-husband. Her noble motives should be taken into consideration when... I stopped mid-sentence. A terrible feeling crept up inside of me. Suddenly I couldn't move, couldn't breathe, couldn't do anything except writhe in agony as I saw the demons appeared. So I just watched them drag Christina to hell. Next, the angel said. Wait, you can't... I stuttered. Stop, bring her back. I didn't have time to... I couldn't even defend her. You have to let me defend her. I said next. The next woman walked up, a lovely lady with a huge sunburn. Did I die from gardening? She asked. I'm sorry, that can't be right. I know I sometimes forget to wear a hat, and my son has said it will be the end of me, but... Hell, the angel interrupted. Lesbian. Objection, I yelled. I felt my breath hitch and forced myself to swallow. Well, Your Honor, first of all, this woman didn't hurt a soul. The angel shrugged. She is a woman who lay with another woman. Hell. So why the fuck did you make her that way? I took a deep breath. Swearing probably wasn't the best strategy. How could her love be something sinful when it resulted in a beautiful, God-fearing, loving family? When it resulted in charity, in children, in a garden she grew? She sinned, and she never regretted it. Hell. What? I stared at him. You can't. I froze. There was that feeling again. That terrible, helpless feeling. I cried softly as they dragged the woman down to eternal damnation. Thank you for trying, she whispered. I stared at the place where she disappeared. I had failed her. I had failed my clients. I clenched my fists. Focus. Be what the angel hired you for. A defense attorney. Professional. Argumentative. Good under pressure. I felt myself calm down. I had trained for this. A tug at my sleeve. A young girl. Almost a child. Can you help me? She asked. I'm scared to talk to the angel because I made my baby go away. Do you think he will be mad at me? Tears were flooding down my cheek. I wondered if that meant rain on earth. I couldn't stop the crying, but I could still use my voice. So I cleared my throat rearranged my blazer, made sure my hair was in order, and smiled. Let's find out, sweetie. You're awake! A happy voice. The first happy voice in a long, long time. I was still crying, but now someone was stroking my face, wiping the tears away. I recognized the smell of my partner. I opened my eyes and then she was crying too. How long was I out? I asked. About 3 days. She forced herself to smile. Was it a relaxing coma? The first time in a while you got that much sleep, huh? It was terrible, I said. I had the weirdest nightmare. 3 days. 3 days and hundreds of cases. I had lost all of them. Except... Wait, I still had one real client. What about Christina? I asked. How is she doing? My wife bit her lip. Honey, I don't know how... Well, screw it. She tried to stab you, so I'm just gonna say it. Christina is dead. The police shot her. I closed my eyes. It didn't stop the images. Hundreds of faces, hundreds of women I hadn't saved. Christina had been real. They had all been real. You know, her ex-husband picked up her remains. My wife cleared her throat. He said he was sure Christina was sorry for stabbing you. She just got angry like that sometimes. The beeping of monitors grew louder around me. Doctors and nurses rushed in. Everyone was freaking out, thinking I was gonna die, again. Like Christina. Christina was dead. Shot by police. Pretty damning evidence for once. I forced myself to open my eyes again, to look at the one face that wasn't dead, though it was just as damned as the others. My wife. There were lines in that face, lines from age and laughter. I touched her cheek and my heartbeat calmed down. It's okay, love, she said. It's okay. Christina is in a better place now. I forced myself to smile. Let's go home soon, yeah? It actually took a few weeks until they released me. The experience gave me a huge scar on my stomach and a new job. Now I'm a defense attorney at night as well. I have lines on my face now too. Lines of anger and pain. I wake up crying every morning. I try my best to prepare myself in the evenings. To be a professional. To guarantee a fair trial. But how can you win a fight when the laws weren't written for you? So far, I have lost 231,118 cases. Divorces, escaping abusive relationships, adultery, abortions. All while men who have done unspeakable things sneaked right past the gates, simply by claiming they regret it. I know that when my time comes, the demons will drag me down as well. I will suffer alongside all the people I have failed. But every morning, right before I head out to work, I kiss my wife goodbye and I cannot help it. I cannot regret loving her. Three months ago, I got a job offer from a company I'd never heard of. No interview, no background check, just an email. Dream research assistant needed. Quiet night work. High pay. Must be discreet. I thought it was a scam, but I clicked anyway. I was 2 months behind on rent and tired of grinding delivery apps and night shifts at a gas station. 2 days later, I was standing in a windowless room at the back of a warehouse on the edge of town, reading a non-disclosure agreement that might as well have been written in blood. You will not share any details about the work, equipment, or subjects. Any breach will be met with legal and appropriate consequences. I signed it. I shouldn't have. The room I worked in had 2 chairs, 2 monitors, and 1 machine. A dome-shaped thing about the size of a watermelon, covered in metallic wires and nodes. The label read, Mimir Neural Sync Unit. They said it could interface with REM wave activity to let us observe and catalog dream visuals in real time. I didn't ask how it worked. I just did what they told me. Every night from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., I came in, put on the headset, and watched people's dreams play out like grainy, half-finished films. My job was to log what I saw. Tags, colors, symbols, emotions, distortions. Most of them were forgettable. Bizarre, disconnected messes. Like the mind dumping its trash into the subconscious. I watched a woman relive her wedding as a loop where her groom's face kept changing into her dead dog. A man had a reoccurring dream about drowning in cereal. One guy just sat in a red chair in an endless desert for 6 hours. I didn't care. I just tagged and logged. The pay was good. The work was quiet. Until shift number 27. That night, the dream opened with a man walking through a long white hallway. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. He wore a dark hoodie. I couldn't see his face. His steps echoed. The hallway had doors, each with numbers. Room 11, room 12, room 13. He stopped at room 16. He opened the door and stepped inside, and I felt cold. I wasn't just watching anymore. It felt like I was in it. Like my thoughts had shifted into his. The room inside was familiar. Too familiar. Cracked white walls, a humming mini-fridge, a ceiling fan with a broken blade, a desk with an old laptop and a blue chair. My room. Down to the scratch on the window frame and the photo of me and my sister at the carnival. This was my apartment. The one I lived in right now. On the desk was my journal, the one I kept locked. In the dream, the man opened it. One line was written over and over in shaky block letters. They are watching you, too. I ripped off the headset, hit the emergency alert button. First time I ever used it. No one came. The next day, I demanded answers. I found out Dr. Calder, the lead researcher. What the hell was that last dream? I asked. That was my apartment. That journal? I've never shown anyone that. She didn't blink. ID number 616-T. I said. Who is that? She stared at me for a long time, then said calmly, You were told to not ask questions. But that's me, isn't it? I'm the subject. You've been watching me. A pause. A smile. No, she said. You're just the receiver. Then she walked away. After that, things got worse. The dreams weren't random anymore. They all started in that hallway. The same man, the same doors. Room 17, room 18, room 19. Every night he'd open the next door, and each time it was another place from my past. The classroom where I wet my pants in first grade. The church basement where I found my uncle passed out drunk. My sister's old bedroom. The night after the accident. Sometimes he just stood there and stared. Other times, he'd whisper things. Once he looked directly into the dream feed and said, Why did you lie? I stopped sleeping. I'd go home, lie in bed, and feel like I was still being watched. The black van across the street, the flicker of the hallway camera, even though no one passed. I started having dreams outside of the lab, dreams that felt like the ones I saw at work. Same angle, same man, except now, I wasn't sure who was dreaming whom. Then came shift number 42. The hallway ended. No more doors. The man stood at the last one, room 23. Inside it was pitch black. For a long time he just stood there. Then he stepped in and the feed went dead. A message appeared on the screen. Mimir sync terminated. Accessing deep core files. Another screen popped up. A split feed. On the left, a live camera view. the break room where I sat on lunch 20 minutes ago. On the right, an old video, grainy black and white footage. I watched myself sleeping. Years younger, electrodes on my head, someone whispering to me off camera. You're going to forget this. It's better if you forget. I threw off the headset, ran down the hallway. The door I thought led outside was gone. In its place, a white hallway with numbered doors. Room 1, Room 2, Room 3. I don't know how long I've been here now. Some nights I think I've escaped. I wake up in my bed. The world looks normal. Until I spot the man in the hoodie across the street. Until I turn on my phone and see a recording of my dream from the night before. I think the job was never real. I think I never left the lab. Or maybe I never applied in the first place. I just wanted a paycheck. What I got was a front row seat to my own breakdown. And if anyone's reading this, if this shows up on your feed, ask yourself, when was the last time you really woke up? Because I'm starting to think some of us are still dreaming. There it is, called out the boy in front. I looked up from my game as the old van made its way around the tree-filled bend, revealing today's latest adventure to stave off boredom. The structure loomed over everything in the overgrown clearing and the dense woods beyond, windows broken with shards of glass as if fangs in mouths, paint peeling and wood splintering in such a way it made the walls look like fur. Despite so many windows, light did not reach more than a few feet in, the inside a black hole swallowing up anything that dared come near. And yet my brother and his friends had decided that day was the day they explored it, the mansion on Hoarder's Hill. You won't find that name on any map. Hoarder's Hill is the local name of the abandoned neighborhood, a ghost town even more haunting than the nearby Times Beach and possibly more dangerous. A little subdivision built winding up a road, blanketed in trees, no neighbors except for a couple retreat centers miles away, a dozen good-sized houses, give or take, traveling up the spiral road until it ended in the courtyard of a mansion. All of them abandoned. The 6 of us piled out the van, me going last so I didn't get in anyone's way. Even before that day, that had been an awkward summer. We had moved from the other side of the state right after the school year ended, and while my brother Paul had wasted no time finding an entire new friend group, I hadn't been quite so quick to make friends. I'd rather just spend the entire sweltering summer inside, playing the newly released Nintendo DS I had just gotten for my birthday. Parents weren't so fond of this idea, and subjected my brother to babysitting me every day they could make him. He didn't make a big deal out of it, and let me be while he and the others got into trouble. He let me take my DS too. I put it away in my pocket as I got out. The adventures with my favorite bounty hunter taking a back seat to the decrepit mansion. No one knows where it came from, said the boy who had been driving, forcing unnecessary grandiose into his voice. They say a century ago, it just appeared on the top of this hill, a paved path leading right up to it. No one ever lived here, yet when people came and looked at it, it was full of junk. So we're going dumpster diving, Arnold? Asked Paul, looking back to check on me. I moved up next to him, feeling every bit as tiny as I was compared to the boys and girls all 3 years older than me. This place looks like it's about to collapse. It's always looked like this, said Arnold, waving his hands around to emphasize his words. Even a century ago, it was a crumbling mess. But it never gets worse. It just looks like that, a living corpse. It drew people to it, And those people built their houses on its driveway. Yet every time someone moved in, people would see the change. Their houses would start out nice. The clutter inside simply their weird collections. But then it would stop being stuff and just become trash. It would spill out their houses like guts on a deer hit on the highway. "Ew," said one of the girls, smacking Arnold on the shoulder. "Don't talk about that." "That's what it looked like, Heather," he said to her. Then back to the rest of us. And just as people would be about to intervene, the people who lived on the hill would vanish. Their junk, too. They say they moved every last bit they owned into the mansion. He gestured to the collapsing wreck. Hidden past the junk are all their riches, their possessions that are still worth something, still in the tight grip of their rotten, maggot-eaten hands. "Stop it," Heather yelped again. "Stop talking about maggots and worms." "Come on, babe," said Arnold, putting an arm around her. "Just how the stories go. Just think about all the jewelry hidden in there instead." "There's nothing in there but garbage," said Paul, folding his arms. I noticed the hair standing up on his arms, despite how level his voice was. "Cool story, but it's just an old place. Might be fun to check out, though." He put on a smile for me, but also toward the other girl that had come with us, Susan. I rolled my eyes and moved a bit away to look over the mansion more. It groaned and grumbled with the wind, broken shutters clattering against the frames. I could almost feel eyes in the shattered windows gazing at each of us in turn, and I kept expecting the front double doors to open and reveal a cavernous mouth, a whip-like tongue shooting out to gobble us all up. Hopefully Arnold, Heather, and the other one first. "Scary, isn't it, Sheila?" asked a voice behind me that made me flinch. I whipped around to see the final member of that little expedition, his pathetic excuse for facial hair somehow still overgrown and messy. He towered over the rest, crammed into his clothes that were more a display of things I wished I hadn't had to see. "Relax, I'll be right by you. I got flashlights, snacks, some rope, even my dad's hunting knife. I came ready." When he first started revealing the contents of his army jacket, a part of me wanted to bolt down the road until I hit the highway. I'm not going in," I said. "I'm going to stay out here with the van. Keep an eye out." "Anyone could come and grab you out here all alone," said the boy, my own hair standing up as he tried to put an arm around me, feeling less like an act of comfort and more like the pincers of an antlion grappling at the torso of the insect that had fallen in. "Stay with us. I'll make sure you stay safe." "And she can stay plenty safe waiting in the van," said Paul, materializing between us and giving me the chance to back away. "No worries, Sheila. Arnold said he'd leave the keys with you." "You touch that wheel, you die, though," said Arnold. He smirked, following a glare from Paul. "I'm just kidding. No touching your kid, sis, Paul." He turned his focus back to Heather and Susan. "I can't drive anyway," I said. "I'll just wait." "That's totally fine," said Paul. I stood still, pretending to focus on the building as I heard him drag the other boy away. It wasn't hard to hear what he must have thought was his quiet voice. "Off limits, Michael." "I'm just being nice," Michael hissed back under his voice. "Can't be nice to your sister?" "She's still in middle school," he growled back. "You touch one hair on her head without her permission, I'm gouging your eyes out. Got it?" My body relaxed a little hearing that. "You're not her boss," Michael grumbled. "Get off me." "Watch yourself," said Paul, returning to me, Michael mumbling to himself as he rejoined the rest of the group. "You okay, Sheila?" "Thank you," I said. "Nothing happened." "And that's why you're staying out here," he said. "Don't worry. We'll just be in for a couple hours while these jackasses give new meaning to the term white trash." I chuckled. "Want to see what you'll be missing out on first, though?" We all moved to the front, Arnold and Michael pushing the entrance open to loud groans, mostly from Michael, but some from the doors as well. They swung inside, their flashlights illuminating the expansive foyer. A wall of junk taller than me, from one end of the room to the other, newspapers upon newspapers forming geological layers alongside discarded cans and containers, broken bits of wood from old furniture, fluid-filled bottles I wouldn't have opened if you had paid me, plastic bags, torn strips of clothing, random slabs of particle board, mangled silverware, bowling balls, a sawhorse, oddly shaped rocks, what might have been a grand piano at one point, toys for pets, and row after row of empty picture frames. And that's what I could make out from the threshold, the stench reaching out like a toxic miasma to choke anyone foolish enough to breathe it. Throughout the front, we could spot tunnels dug through the garbage, winding their way deeper, up the stairs to the second floor, to the side rooms, to some hidden basement. I stepped back. "I choose life," I said. "God," said Heather. "There's no way those tunnels aren't loaded with rats and worms." "Come on," said Arnold, sneaking his arm around her shoulders again. "You told me you think worms are cute." "I said you'd still be cute as a worm," she said. "If I'm going in there, we have to go up top." "Brother told me the good stuff can only be reached by the tunnels," said Arnold, getting down on all fours. "Looks plenty wide. The sawhorses are keeping it up. We just go in and crawl all the way." "Or we trigger a trap and die," said Paul. "I'm taking the top." He smiled to Susan. "Care to join me?" She nodded. I took my leave, watching them all take their paths into the mansion. Arnold crawled down the tunnel, Heather following him. Paul and his crush started their climb up to the top of the compacted garbage, avoiding the network of holes and tunnels like they were bottomless pits. With enough glaring from Paul, Michael followed in as well. I moved away, stepping into the van and shutting the sliding door, locking it tight save for the gaps in the windows. I settled myself in the coolest part of the vehicle and pulled out my game again, escaping into a network of caves a lot safer to explore. Hours passed. The sun made its way down and soon the dense tree line blocked it, turning the front of the mansion into a dark cavern. I hadn't even so much as seen anyone in the windows. Whatever noise that might have been coming from the mansion was probably absorbed by the garbage cramming every open space within. Even a cherished game couldn't keep away what was gnawing at my insides. I stepped out, DS in my grip as I walked up the front doors. I had the keys in my pocket, but no cell phone. I pulled out the cartridge from my DS, fumbling it between my fingers to distract myself. My brother had left his flip phone behind with me, but it was now dead. I looked inside the mansion. "Hey, Paul," I called out. "Arnold? Heather? Anyone?" I didn't call for Michael. Nothing answered me from the overstuffed foyer. I gulped as I stepped back, trying to work through it. Should I leave? I couldn't drive, but I could walk. No, it was miles to the next place that might even have anyone there. I stepped back, returning to the van, and grabbing the tire iron Arnold kept in the trunk, still fidgeting with the cartridge in my other hand. The small chunk of metal felt more comforting than one of my teddy bears in the failing light. Maybe I could walk to the nearest retreat center and... Something knocked the cartridge out of my hands. I yelped and looked to the side to see a large gray cat running away, the chunk of plastic in its mouth as it darted around the side of the mansion. Hey, I called out, chasing after it. Give that back, you stupid cat. I picked my way around the fallen roof shingles like they were pressure plates in some trap-filled temple, rounding the corner in search of the flea-ridden thief. There he sat a couple dozen feet away, still holding the cartridge in his teeth. He meowed at me. Why you? I hissed, charging at him before he took off again, leading me further about the side of the mansion. Soon I was around the back, chasing the literal cat burglar over a fallen section of wrought iron fence into what had once been a garden, now just a mire of weeds complete with the fountain that had devolved into an algae-filled mosquito farm. The cat stopped in front of a boarded-up back door and put the game on the ground. "Why'd you do that?" I snapped, catching up to the furball. He meowed again before backing away. I could see a faded collar around his neck as I grabbed the cartridge, pocketing it. "If you don't mind, cat, I need to..." Metallic crunching, shattering, snapping shot out from the front of the mansion. I yelped a little, gripping the tire iron as I started my way around the building again, taking my shaking steps with a lot more care and patience. The cat followed me, meowing the entire way as if telling me not to listen to my curiosity. I stopped at the final bend and peeked around the corner. Arnold's van had vanished. Not like it had been stolen. I saw bits and pieces of it scattered everywhere. Shards of glass, tiny scraps of metal, a lone tire that had been ripped to tatters. The rest of the van, contents included, had disappeared, leaving nothing but a trail of oil and other fluids to the front doors of the mansion. And as I tried to process this, I heard a shifting and groaning escape from one of the nearby broken windows. A constant shuffle, followed by stamps of feet and then heavy breathing, only a few feet above me. I pressed myself against the side of the house in case somebody was looking out, trusting my goosebumps instead of the hope it was my brother searching for me. "I've got to get out of here," I said to myself. "Bye, cat. Thank you for whatever that was, but I have to leave. I need to find someone. Gotta call someone. I don't... I ran my free hand through my hair, trying to parse through it all. My brother's in there, with whoever did that. How did they do that? What am I supposed to do?" I started backing around toward the front of the mansion, lost in thought even as the cat yelled at me, trying to break me out of my panic by biting at my heels. I misplaced a step on a shingle, shattering it and feeling something give underneath. As it did, the whole world fell around me. I came to in darkness, aches blanketing my body. I groaned as I pulled myself up, reaching into my pocket and pulling out the DS to serve as a flashlight. I had fallen through a rotten section of flooring, hidden by fallen shingles and overgrowth. A cellar entrance. A cellar entrance so high up I couldn't climb out, leaving me on top of a massive mound of rotting, pulpy mess that had once been newspapers. So many newspapers. So many I could barely sit up in this chamber. I heard a meow up above me and brought my light up, the glow reflecting off the lights of the cat. He looked over to his right and then back to me before meowing again. Done relaying whatever his message was, he took off. I gulped, looking across the cellar. I spotted the doorway out, kept open by the massive piles of trash that climbed up the staircase into the main building. I felt even smaller than before, a stringy bit of meat trapped within the depths of the colossal monster that had swallowed my brother and his friends whole, and me about to get ground to paste between its teeth. I forced my hands forward and started crawling across the garbage, testing each step in case the decaying detritus was about to give beneath me, all while hoping the black splotches I saw everywhere wouldn't affect me unless I was down here for a while. Something collapsed in on itself in the center of the cellar to my left. I shined my light over, taking in the overflowing shelves nearly consumed by the floor of trash, discarded bones, desiccated remains of what had probably been raccoons and other vagrant animals moving in. One in particular looked pale and bald as if all the hair had been plucked out. Just past it, I saw what looked like a disassembled remnants of a motor, leaking and dripping fluids onto the trash around it, as well as some sort of preserved animal in a jar. A shuffling. I looked back at the source. The bald remains were gone, and in the dead silence, I felt something moving underneath the garbage. I turned and crawled towards the stairs, my light going back and forth as I tried to watch for movements in the trash, doing what I could to keep an eye on all the holes in the compacted detritus. A shuffling again, close to the surface on my right. I shot the light over and saw two twisted, mangled feet vanish down a hole. They had been so bent and broken, they intertwined with each other, fusing into a single mess of flesh like a tail. I covered my mouth, trying to steady my breaths. The shuffling came again beneath me, and I tried to watch the holes as I kept moving. Finally, I got to the slope of the staircase, my light revealing the hallway ahead, barely visible as the garbage went nearly to the ceiling. I turned away from the cellar and fully laid down on my stomach to squirm into the hallway. A raspy shriek broke through the air as I felt something grab my ankles. I couldn't stop letting out a scream as something dragged me back down into the cellar. I kicked and writhed, breaking one leg free and twisting around, shining my light on what had grabbed me. Two gnarled, filth-encrusted hands had burst through a section of moldy newspaper, clamping tight on my ankles as they pulled me into the new hole it had created, a hole far too tight for me to fit down without a lot of force. I let out another shriek as I kicked with my free foot, hitting the wrist of the other hand and getting loose. I crawled away, but the rumbling returned below as something moved underneath, traversing the network of tunnels with the ease of a mole. Hand shot out to my side, grabbing my left arm and dragging it into another gap. I screamed and brought the tire iron down on the fingers, shattering them like twigs and freeing me again. I grabbed the DS where it had fallen and hurled myself up the stairs, squeezing through the gap faster than I thought possible, and emerging out onto the top of the hallway. The trash sifted below me, and I heard the shuffling once more. Then more and more. I flailed my way over the garbage, the roof now high enough for me to stand up. I ran from the noises as they came from what had to be the front of the mansion, hoping the next reckless step didn't send my leg into a hidden hole and snap it in two before more of those hands grabbed me and pulled me in. I'd have taken an entire field of prairie dog burrows over this. I emerged into a dining room, and before me hung a colossal chandelier still attached to the ceiling by a thick chain. I climbed onto it, praying it could still support my weight so I could get off the ground. It held firm, just in time before more hands burst out like twisted weeds, grasping at where I had just been. I shivered as the grime-covered, blackened limbs disappeared beneath layers of rotting strips of blankets. I scanned around, barely seeing movement in the corners of my eyes. They sifted through the mountains of garbage like swallowing through water, bathing in the slimy filth and navigating the tunnels with ease. I aimed the light below and saw multiple eyes looking at me through the gaps. Human eyes, bloodshot, cataracts eating at portions of them as they regarded me, raspy voices hissing and growling. I could only whimper as they circled me. I tried the breaths again, bringing my heart rate down as they trapped me. They kept themselves hidden, only the sounds of their movement giving away their presence. I looked away from the things, glancing around the ceiling and spotting a broken section about 10 feet away, a place where the ceiling had caved in, exposing an entrance to the second floor. Beneath it was the top of a china cabinet that looked sturdy enough to support me. Had Paul managed to get up there like he said? I shuffled the light and the tire iron into one hand before pulling out Arnold's keys with the other. I threw them opposite of me, the keys smashing into an empty picture frame. The rasps cut off and felt the eyes leave me and focus on the keys. All the forms bolted, digging through the trash toward the distraction as I launched off the chandelier. I pulled myself onto the cabinet and turned back to give a final glance. A human face emerged from the rubble, a twisted arm with far too many joints, bringing the warped hand holding the keys next to its ruined eyes. The entire skull had been mashed and malformed, pushed into a streamlined shape more like a beak than a person's face. The broken teeth jutted out like a horse, the nose smashed in, eyes not meeting at the same level above. I could just see its shoulders press far too close into each other, and only a few strands of hair dangled around its head. It hissed at me, and again I felt eyes gazing up at me from their hiding spots in the trash. I turned away and didn't look back as I grabbed at the floor above. Trash covered this room as well. A wall of ruined toys, playthings, movie posters, and outdated electronics that looked like they were made of wood. I pocketed my lights and used the junk to hold on as I climbed, the rasping and hissing closing in below me. I felt something brush up against my foot a second before I pulled it up, removing myself from the dining room and into this new chamber. Shuttered windows lined the wall, letting my precious moonlight through their broken slats. I freed myself from the hole, gasping for air, my own pulse drowning out the noise those things made from downstairs. I lay on the cleanest section of the sea of junk I could find, an old moldy blanket mixed with ravaged comic books. I kept my crying down as best I could as I listened. Hopefully it would take them a while to reach me. I held on to myself, trying to sterile my whimpers. I just wanted my brother back. Anything else? Please, just let him be okay. Then I heard another whimper, a gurgled weeping from a connecting room. I forced myself up, hands slipping as grime coated every part of me. I stood, stooped over to avoid the splintered, peeling ceiling as I walked to the source of the noise. I entered what looked to have been a bathroom adjoining two bedrooms. Empty bottles of shampoo, boxes of soap, and mountains of spent beauty products had been stuffed so tight they had compacted into a hardened layer, with everything from loofahs to old towels filling the gaps. And in a corner, possibly where a bathtub or shower had long since been covered, the whimpers erupted from a dip in the sea of trash. I stepped closer and gasped. It was Susan, covered in blood, curled in a corner of the bathroom like an animal hiding itself in its last moments. And from what I could see, maybe these were hers, judging the blood covering her. "Hey," I hissed, scrambling over to her. What could I even do besides be there for her? "What happened? Did those things do this to you?" Her eyes focused for a moment, all her remaining energy going to turn her head to me. As I closed in, I could see where the blood came from. A deep, twisted wound in her stomach that she had tried to plug. But now it was far too late. My light illuminated the trail of blood that wound its way to her from the other bedroom. "Get out of here," she gasped. "Where's Paul?" I asked her, getting onto my knees before her, hands clasped as if in prayer. "I'm so sorry I can't do anything to you, but please help me find my brother." "We were in the halls when the Hoarders came," she said, breaths labored and ragged. "Paul ran off to draw them away. I got turned around. I saw what I thought was him." "And it was one of them?" She released a hand from her stomach and grabbed my wrist, blood smearing with the filth on me. "It was Michael," she hissed. "Stupid asshole thought I was one of them. Stabbed me and left me to die." She spat up blood. "Get out of here. Keep away from Michael. Your brother wouldn't." She stopped when a shuffling erupted from the bedroom she had come from. "Get out now," she snapped, pushing me away as tremors moved through the garbage between us. I just managed to crawl backwards enough before the hand shot out of the junk, around the poor girl, grabbing her head, her shoulders, her arms. The face of one of the monsters burst out from the trash, bringing its twisted, malformed body up above her. It hissed as it looked down at its captive, drool escaping its misshapen mouth as it dug its filthy digits into her face. God, how could it even live with its chest so smashed? Rolled like clay into a shape that had to have broken all of its ribs. Shredded strips of clothing clung to its body, held together with a patchwork of pins, suggesting something like what my grandma had worn in the 50s. Rings blanketed its fingers, everything from gold wedding bands to those cheap things you win out of vending machines at the grocery store. Susan barely managed to scream before the hoarder grabbed her head first into the hole it had made, or rather, tried to. The hole that it had managed to fit through wasn't nearly big enough to accommodate its prey, but that didn't stop it. Even as she fought with what little strength she had left, it continued pulling her, bit by bit working her upper body into the hole. Her muffled screams escaped through the gaps, accompanied by sharp snaps of bone, while more of her disappeared from sight. Her screams kept going, well past the point they should have stopped until it was just her legs dangling in the air. Only then did she finally fall silent, her feet forced together and pulled in with a quick tug, the tight squeeze twisting her broken limbs around each other. By then I had made my way back to the other room and turned around, hauling myself out the other door into the hallway. The trash was low enough for me to stand back up fully, and I hurled my body as far away from that monster, feasting on the poor girl as I could. I rounded a corner, guessing at whatever might be the right direction to go. Everything looked the same. The walls devoid of any decoration, and any furniture that had once been present long since buried by junk. The path I chose ended in a wall, and I turned around, spotting a door into another room. This one wasn't half as full as the others. The trash sloping downward and ending in a bundle of blankets, pillows, and sheets like a nest. Within the nest sat Heather, eyes glued to her phone as she pushed away at the buttons, hammering out commands on the number pad. "Come on, get through," she sputtered as she shook. "Come on, how is there no signal? There was a signal outside." She tried again. "How could there be so much stuff you can't even send out a text?" Again, this time it was a call. Still nothing. "Come on, please." "Heather?" I said. "Come on, we gotta leave. Where's Paul?" She kept pounding at the keypad. "Paul lured them away, but it's not enough," she whimpered, still glued to her screen. "They won't let us escape. They got Arnold, pulled him into one of their tunnels when he tried to stop them from taking us, snapped his bones like twigs. We broke into their home. They just wanted to be left alone. They just wanted to add to their collections." She screamed when her phone failed her again. "We can't escape." "We can," I said, trying to convince myself more than her. "Please, where's Paul? How do we get back to the front door?" She gave up, tossing the phone away before looking at me, giving me the same worn-down look I've seen my parents give the door-to-door political campaign volunteers, pushing policies they hated. "The back door to the foyer is across from us," she said. "No point. They have us trapped. All we can do is hope one of those texts actually got through and someone burns this place to the ground." In the light of my DS, I could see the streaks left through the filth on her face by her tears. Her eyes turned away from me, looking at something only visible to her. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm really sorry I didn't listen. I'm so sorry I went behind your back. I turned around, moving back to the slope of garbage. I had to keep looking. I had to leave her behind. I grabbed her cell phone as I passed it, made my way to the doorway, and felt that sensation again. This time a single shuffling beneath me, passing underneath, moving toward her. I turned around. Heather? I hissed. You gotta get moving, now. I'm sorry, Mom. She kept spitting out. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm so sorry. The blankets before her parted, and from my viewpoint, I could see another one of the hoarders emerge from its tunnel, this one large and muscular even with its twisted, broken form. Brown hair still adorned its scalp, but fell out in clumps, its arms moving in animated motion as it growled and gurgled. Heather? It somehow managed through its smashed mouth full of broken, misplaced teeth. Heather, do you like? Heather broke out of her daze long enough to let out another scream before the hoarder fell on her. I didn't stay to look. I heard more shuffling close in from the corridors around me, and even in the distance I could see shapes moving, eyes popping out through open sections of garbage, hands breaking free just to return back down, two legs vanishing back underneath the filth, intertwined upon themselves, twisted by the contortions required to navigate the tunnels. I darted to the doorway Heather had mentioned, and finally saw moonlight spilling ahead of me, turning around one last time to see a hoarder fully emerge from the junk, using its twisted arms to scurry at me like an insect while it let out a feral cry. Without thinking, I grabbed the tire iron and threw it at him, my weapon falling a few inches short. He came to a stop before it, grabbing the tire iron and regarding it, then me. I kept going, letting myself roll and slide down the garbage-covered staircase. Every last sharp edge, broken bit of glass, splintered stick of wood, and rusty spike of metal grabbed and tore at me as I fell, but still I let myself. I could hear them as they tunneled their way around on the second floor. I could even hear some moving about on the ground level in rooms I hadn't looked in. Let them. They could have this entire house. Just please, let me leave. Give me back my brother. Salvation emerged before me as I finally escaped the mountains of trash and landed on the floor, my feet touching actual tiles for the first time in what felt like a year. I pulled myself back up, hobbling over to the entryway, even as I heard the monsters moving behind me, congregating as one. They remained at the edges of their trash, ruined eyes looking at me, broken mouths emerging to hiss and cry out at the girl escaping them. They watched me as I crossed the threshold and emerged outside, me bearing nothing but my own clothes and the contents of my pockets. Then I felt two large arms wrap around me, a giant, filthy hand clasping over my mouth. Thank goodness you're safe, Sheila, said the last voice I wanted to hear. Sorry about your brother. It's okay, though. I made it too. We'll get out of here together, okay? Just stay with me. I'll take care of you. I screamed as I tried to force my way free from Michael's grip, but the disgusting giant held firm. Now, is that any way to thank the boy who's going to protect you? He hissed. Girls are all the same. Do the nicest things for them, and they don't appreciate it at all. Well, your brother isn't here now to get between us, is he? And those freaks won't leave the house for us. They just want junk. I moved my mouth enough to bite down on his hand, digging my teeth in and tasting his blood mixed with the grime that covered us both. He let out a cry and loosened his grip just enough to let me go. But with everything I had been through, I fell to the ground. The world spinning around me. I tried to crawl toward the road, hoping the downward slope would be enough to roll me away from him. Something grabbed both of my feet, dragging me back toward damnation. I kicked, breaking free one leg and letting me turn onto my back, staring into the face of a sickening monster as it loomed over me. "Get away from me," I cried. "You're a murderer." "Knew I should have put her out of her misery," growled Michael. "But don't worry, since we're safe now, if you keep quiet about all this, I'll let you live, okay?" He looked ready to bring himself down on me like a wolf onto a cornered rabbit, but before he could, something leapt onto his back from the doorway, its gnarled fingers scrabbling at his clothes and digging into his exposed flesh. He fell backwards, throttled by the Hoarder as it crawled at him with its broken digits, both monsters howling as they fought. Michael pulled a knife from his side, but before he could bring it against his opponent, another Hoarder burst out from the garbage and out the door, grabbing at the weapon and breaking his arm at the elbow with a loud crack. A third Hoarder erupted into the fray, grabbing Michael's remaining arm, pulling it away from his opponent and snapping his fingers like twigs. The original Hoarder, covered in fresh blood, its mangled limbs and form seeming unhealed compared to the others, its hair still dropping in clumps, loomed on the chest of its target, and before Michael could let out another scream, it shot its hands forward and shoved its filthy thumbs into his eyes while the other two dragged him back to the mansion. The doors slammed shut behind them. No more trespassers. I somehow found the energy to get back up, free from the foul, dark, rotting carcass of a mansion, and embraced by the warm moonlight of the woods around me. I hobbled ahead, reaching the road where it turned away from the mansion before finally collapsing onto the grass nearby. I tried to get back up, but my legs wouldn't budge. I could only weep, even my cries barely audible in the noise of the woods around me. I pulled myself together enough to pull out Heather's cell phone, the marathon of failed texts and calls on the screen. But now a bar was present in the top right. As worn as I was, my fingers had enough for one last thing before I fell unconscious. They never found Paul, or any of the others. I told my parents and the cops that they had vanished into the mansion. I had fallen in through the cellar and had barely managed to get out. They tried to search the mansion, but after weeks of trying to pull out garbage and failing to make any progress, something happened. My parents never told me what, and they just gave up. Wrote them all off like they had been lost in a caving accident. The mansion, their tomb. They left that place on the hill be, no one wanting to have to deal with it. No developers offered to buy it. They just closed off the road. After I recovered, both from my wounds and the loss, I started receiving gifts in the mail. Game cartridges, rare ones. Many were covered in filth and grime, but most worked. They came at random, with no return address, but I knew where they had come from. And on my 18th birthday, a deed and a contract came in the mail. This one did have a return address, an outdated one that matched the mansion from all those years ago. The contract was simple. I would inherit the land and property on it, all fees and taxes paid for by strips of highway land used for billboards. But I had to live there. A small guest house had apparently appeared at the beginning of the driveway up to the mansion. So long as I lived there, maintaining my vigil over Hoarder's Hill, I was free to stay, to come and go as I pleased, unlike the rest of the collections in the mansion. I've been there since, making my rounds up to visit, to bring them the things of mine I no longer wanted but they might have interest in. They never refused any of it. They would often take my trash and recyclables before Friday pickup. There must have been a network of caves throughout that hill, connecting all the abandoned homes to the mansion. They took what no one else wanted, and I made sure to stay out of their way. Even 20 years after I stepped into that mansion, it's not an easy piece, but if me being there keeps other foolish kids from breaking into their home, it's all for the better. They let me see them and live, and in the dead of night, they give me things they think I'll like. They aren't hurt if I don't want it. Though one in particular always gives me what I enjoy. He will come up to the house before morning and leave his offering at my doorstep, never staying. I see him in the window as he comes and goes sometimes, and I'm just glad that Paul is still looking out for me.